Should you work for a big company or a small company? It's a question that's often asked by young professionals. There are benefits and drawbacks to both, and the development of your career could differ depending on if you choose one or the other. In this video, we're going to do a deep dive comparison between the two. And at the end of the video, I'll give you my opinion on what I think's best. So let's get into it. What's up, everybody? This is Brandon Hill, and welcome back to my channel, where we share content to help young professionals develop personally, professionally, and financially. Today, we're talking about working for a big company versus working for a small company. This is something that I've grappled with myself, and I know a lot of young professionals out there wonder the same. And I've been lucky enough to intern or work for 2 Fortune 500 companies, which have tens of thousands of employees. And I've also worked for 3 smaller firms that have anywhere from 5 to 15 employees. And after experiencing both, I think there are 9 areas that you should consider when making this decision on what's best for you. And those 9 areas are company stability, career advancement, pay raises, bonuses and profit sharing, responsibilities and breadth of exposure, impact of your role, training and mentoring, recognition of the firm, and benefits. So first, we'll talk about company stability. And with a big company, you're going to find that they're typically more stable. They have many stakeholders that keep things on track, such as management, a board of directors, and shareholders. And they usually have a lot of access to capital if needed. So if you want more job security, typically it'll be better at a big company. At a small company, it's typically less stable, especially if the company is a startup. So your job and your long-term career might not be as secure there. Number 2 is career advancement. So at a big company, there's typically many positions. So their opportunity is there for you to advance, but you'll find that it can take longer for you to find promotions and move up the corporate ladder. There's lots of infrastructure and approvals that need to happen for you to get a promotion. For example, your boss might need to approve it, their bosses, and HR. Whereas at a small company, it's typically easier to get promoted. You make more of an impact, your face and name are more well-known, and there's less approvals to go through. Your boss may have the authority to promote you. Next, we'll talk about pay raises. So just like promotions at a big company, pay raises at a big company have many obstacles that make getting a pay raise more difficult. There's more employees to spread money across, and big companies typically have a specified range of salary that they offer for certain positions. So for example, if you're a senior financial analyst, they may only offer $90,000 to $100,000 for anybody that's in that role. So it kind of places a ceiling on what you could earn. At a small company though, you're more likely to be paid in proportion to the value that you bring. So it's more of a meritocracy, meaning that what you do to benefit the company and your output is more likely to be rewarded. If you're contributing and helping the company, your pay can keep rising. And finally, at a small company, there's less approvals that you have to go through. If your boss likes you and has the authority to give you a raise, then they'll just give you that raise. Let's talk about bonuses and profit sharing. So at a big company, the bonuses tend to be smaller, and there are 2 reasons for this. One is that the bonus pool of money that can go to employees is spread across a large number of them. So the piece of the pie that you get can be much smaller. Second reason is that large companies don't grow as fast as small companies. So even the growth that you get to partake in won't be as big as a successful small company, for example. Secondly, at some companies, there may be a fixed bonus percentage based on your position. So back to our example as a financial analyst, let's say that a company offers a fixed 10% bonus on your salary. So if people get the bonus or not, you're gonna get 10%, whether you worked hard or whether you kind of slacked off. So at a small company, bonuses tend to be bigger because the bonus pool is spread across a smaller number of employees, and small companies tend to grow faster. Secondly, bonuses are given out more on discretion rather than a fixed percentage. So if you work hard and you bust your butt, your bonuses are likely to be higher because of that work. And finally, I'll mention that the likelihood of you getting stock options is much higher at a small company. At a big company, you might have to be upper level management to get stock options. Responsibilities and breadth of exposure is a big difference between a big company and a small company. So at a big company, you typically have a specialized role. You know, you're a small piece of a big machine. So for example, when I worked at MGM Resorts, I worked on the investor relations team, and that's all I did was investor relations type work. And one benefit of this is that you do become an expert in your area. The downside is that you could pigeonhole yourself unintentionally. So for example, if I stayed at MGM and all I did was investor relations, maybe I would have pigeonholed myself only into investor relations work. So let's look at a small company. At a small company, you'll wear many hats, which means that you have more responsibilities and get to experience a greater breadth of exposure. So for example, at a small company, you might work on financial analysis, you might work on business development, might work on customer service, investor relations, and even legal work. And while you may not be an expert in everything, you get to be really good at a lot of things, which is invaluable experience. It's fun to do because you're not working on the same thing every day. Every day could be something new, and you're building a lot of skills and experience that you could transfer to many other positions. So impact of your role is another big difference between the two. At a big company, you're a small fish in a big pond, and it's really hard to stand out from everybody else. It's also hard to innovate because of all the hoops that you have to go through. If you have an innovative idea, it'll have to pass through your boss, their bosses, even the board of directors. And even if your idea is implemented, that process could take several months. Whereas at a small company, you have more of a direct impact on the business. You're more free to innovate and to have your ideas heard and implemented. And as a result, it's easier to accumulate accomplishments that you could add on your resume. You could say, I did A, B, and C, and that resulted in X, Y, Z. Let's talk about training and mentoring. So at a big company with years of existence and thousands of employees that have gone through, typically the training is comprehensive and efficient. So for example, investment banks, they send all their new recruits out for 2 weeks or so of training to get geared up for their role. And as for mentorship at a big company, the opportunity is there, though it's less likely. So if you have upper level management that have tens or hundreds of people under them, it's going to be hard for you to use them as a mentor just because they have to worry about so many other people. So at a small company, typically they don't have a formal training process. Once you join, they kind of expect you to be trained already or that you are self-directed and can train yourself. But there's a greater opportunity for mentorship. If you're at a company with 10 people, the odds of you learning from and working with someone like the CEO or the CFO is much higher. Let's talk about the recognition of the firm. So recognition of the firm, this just means how many people know the firm. Is it well known or is it something that's not well known? And at a big company, what you'll find is that big companies are likelier to have a well-known and recognized name, which could look really good on your resume. If you said, hey, I worked at Goldman Sachs, people know Goldman Sachs, they're gonna know what type of talent they produce and how hard it is to get in there. So it could have an impact if you go to interview somewhere else and you're trying to get that job. Second part of recognition to the firm with a big company is that it just feels good to say that you work for a known and prestigious firm. On the other side, with a small company, some small companies have really well-known names, but most of them might not be as known. So if you leave an interview for another company, that company may not know how reputable your employer is. And the same is for grad school. So if you applied to grad school, they might not know the name of your firm, but if you communicate well and say what the firm did and what you accomplished in your position, then this won't really matter. Next, we'll talk about the benefits that the companies offer. And these could differ a lot between big companies and small companies because at a big company, they have economies of scale. So with that, they typically offer, better healthcare, student loan repayment programs, and they might partner up with a bunch of local businesses to give you more benefits. At a small company, the benefits can be good, but it's not as likely. Sometimes a company may be so small and so young that they don't even offer you benefits such as healthcare. That would require you to pay for your own coverage. All right, lastly, we'll talk about my personal recommendation. And this is just based off of my own experience. I think if you can, you want to intern and work for small and large companies to see what you like. That's the first thing you should do. If you're at the start of your career, I think you should start at a big company for a year or two and then move to a smaller company. And why do I recommend this? Well, if you start at a big company, you get the training that a large company offers. You get the big name of the company and can put that on your resume for future positions. You learn how to operate within a large organization, which is important because, there's tens of thousands of employees. There's many different teams. You have to learn how to do your part to contribute to the big company. And lastly, you could build a large network. When you have that many people around you, it offers many networking opportunities that could set you up for the rest of your career. Then, once you move to a smaller company, you could start to implement what you've learned to have more of an impact. Secondly, you could seek direct mentorship from the accomplished individuals that work for the company. So for those reasons, I think it's important that you do try both. I think you could start out at a big company, which will be good for the development of your career and just to learn what it's like to work at a big company. And then once you've done that for a while, you can move to a smaller company, make much more of an impact, and have an opportunity to advance your career and your pay much faster than you would in a larger company. So I hope this helps all those people out there that are wondering if they should work for a big company or a large company. There's really pros and cons to both, and it's all dependent on what you want for your career. So hopefully if you looked at the comparison, you could kind of pick out what you like and don't like about both and help make the decision that's best for your career. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.